is going to be a steamy one today. Another hot one. Yesterday at my weather station at home, recorded 42 degrees Celsius, which is, I think, well over 100. Today's supposed to be as hot or hotter, and it's just before 11 a.m. It's not too bad now. And I am on another bicycle ride. And I'm an avid motorcyclist, been riding since 2009. I have owned and still own, well, I don't know all of them, but 8 motorcycles in that time. I bought them all brand new. And right now I'm just basically riding 3 of them. But I think if you're a motorcyclist, you're always thinking, what would be the next motorcycle I would buy? And I think, people think who have bikes, and because motorcycles are fairly affordable. First of all, you'd have to think of the price point you want to look at. And you could get a decent, but you're not going to get much for under $10,000. But I don't think you have to go over $20,000. So in that 10 to 20,000 range, you're going to get yourself a pretty decent motorcycle. But still, there's so much to choose from. How do you even decide? So there's a process you could go through to the process of elimination, let's put it that way. First of all, the type of bike you want. And I've never been a cruiser style or adventure style biker. I'm more of a sports bike rider. And I have a sort of semi-adventure bike, lightweight, in the CB500. So let's look at a type of sporty bike. The next thing I would look at was the manufacturer, and I would eliminate anything that's not Japanese, because I like the idea of Japanese reliability and value. And I just wouldn't buy a bike from Europe, Italy, or Germany, or, I like Triumph, but I just don't trust the reliability and the cost to repair of European motorcycles. So stick with Japan. There's 4 manufacturers to choose from. There's also, your Chinese CF Moto. I think I see a can over there. Enjoy the scenery. But I don't think I'm ready for a Chinese motorcycle. What is this thing over here? Nothing. So we've now already narrowed it down to a price not going over 20,000 all in, including tax, delivery, and everything. We've narrowed it down to a manufacturer, one of the Japanese manufacturers, and some kind of a sporty bike. The next thing I would do was choose a naked bike for a few reasons. I already have a ST1300 and a CBR650 that have fairings. And there's a problem with fairings in that maintenance is difficult if you have to remove fairings. It's a pain in the ass. The other thing is, I just think naked bikes look better because you can see the parts, the engine, the rad, everything's kind of exposed, which is a good thing. This road is so horrible that my camera's shaking like a leaf in the wind, but we'll see how the stability holds out. This is an absolutely horrible road. But anyway, so we've got naked Japanese. Oh yeah, fairings. The other thing with fairings is difficult for maintenance. I think naked bikes just look better. Not that looks mean too much, but I like to see the engine and all the moving parts and all that stuff. I don't like it all hidden behind fairings. The other thing with fairings is you just tend to go fast with fairing bikes. They slice through the wind with such ease. That's a can. I think I got 2 cans here. Such ease that the speed limit's ridiculous on a bike that's got any kind of power. Oops. Any kind of power. You just want to slice through and go fast, 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 which is not always. That's when the bike feels the best, when it's like my two fairing bikes, the ST1300 and CBR 650R. I usually ride them anywhere between 120 and 160 kilometers an hour, and those are all ticketable speeds. But it's ridiculous to get a bike like that and not. It's horrible to go at the speed limit with a bike with fairings. Well, a naked bike is much more at home and comfortable at even legal speeds, no matter how much power it's got. So you don't have to worry about it. And plus, it's limited by wind blast, of course. Going 160 kilometers an hour in a naked bike is going to give you a hell of a wind blast, I would imagine. So there's those things. So naked Japanese. The other thing I would look at is the power level. I ride 90% of my riding is done on the highway, maybe more than 90%. In fact, almost all of it. So I need power to pass. And so anything under 80 horsepower is just not good enough. In fact, the more power, the better, because I actually like to pass. I enjoy the feeling of acquiring a target, figuring out when I'm going to pass them, how many cars I'm going to pass at once, kind of thing. If there's a line of cars, where the, and commit to the pass. There's an art to passing, and I actually like a little bit of traffic, so I have targets to acquire and pass. So to do that, and I want to pass at will. I don't have to worry about, gee, can I make this pass? Like when I'm on my ST1300, it's basically pass at will. I don't even have to shift down on that bike. I just turn the throttle and I'm gone. Buy any car in 2-3 seconds. Zoom. So that's what you want. You don't want to have any white knuckles wondering if you're going to make it or not. You're just going to be able to pass at will. And to do that, you need at least 80 horsepower, preferably more, as much as you can get. It's a simple fact of life. It's not about just maintaining speed. It's about going from, say, 100 to 160 kilometers an hour in as little time as possible. Get the pass over with. That's the safest pass. So, you could probably get away with about 80 horsepower, but at least 100 horsepower. The other thing is, so right now that's, your limit. I mean, I think all the Japanese manufacturers make a naked bike that will do that. But there's one thing, I've been looking at the Yamaha MT-09. It's the only one with a triple, and I've never had a triple cylinder engine. I've had singles, I've had parallel twins, V twins, I've had inline 4, I've got another can. I've got a V4 in my ST1300. I've never had a triple. And I've always liked Triumphs just because they have that triple design. So right now, if I had to buy a motorcycle, I would be looking at something like, I like Yamaha. My first bike was a Yamaha. And they have a good reputation for building engines and precise instruments. So an MT-09, I think it's got close to 117, 120 horsepower, something like that. And gobs of torque, low down torque. I like a high revving engine. My CBR 650R was a screamer. It's the more you rev it, the more it likes it. But sometimes you don't want to be screaming your engine all the time to get power. You just want it right there. So I think I'd be looking at something along those lines. If I had to buy a motorcycle today, the Yamaha MT-09 just speaks to me right now. I know Kawasaki. I've never had a Kawasaki, so there's that. I know they make a 900, I think. Honda came out with that 750 Hornet, but I just don't like a parallel twin, and I don't think it's got enough power for what I want. Even though I like Hondas a lot, I think they have CB1000, but you're getting into crazy power there, and you're getting into a high price point. So if I had to buy a motorcycle now, put a gun to my head, I would get something like that, a powerful naked Japanese bike. I've had a naked bike before, but it was just the SV650 Gladius with a really sweetest motor I've almost ever had. Sweet V twin, just a beautiful, velvety, smooth, lovely sounding motor. But the chassis itself, the rest of the bike was El Cheapo. Everything about it. But you build your bike around an engine for sure. That's what it's all about. Oh, another one. Anyway,